I'm Robin Mulhelner. I'm a licensed psychotherapist in Los Angeles, California, living with bipolar disorder. And I work in two wonderful jobs that I love. And one is with the Life Adjustment Team. And the other is my own private practice. And I'm grateful for both. And this video is going to be all about the entire spectrum of mood disorders. We are going to talk about major depression. We are going to talk about all the different types of bipolar disorder. And we're going to talk about schizoaffective disorder. So I want us to think about these disorders in three ways. The first really important thing that I want us all to understand are what's called circadian rhythm. Now, circadian rhythm is our body's biological clock that determines our drives. And what I mean by that, by drives, is your need for sleep, your appetite, your drive for sex, your drive for interests and goals, your drive for emotion and what type of emotion. All of that is guided by this biological clock within us called the circadian rhythm. It's our rhythm as human beings. So we're going to talk about these mood disorders from that perspective. The other perspectives we're going to think about is the amount of personal control that we have during these episodes. That's what helps us understand the severity of the episode, is both how much control we have to do the things we want to do. The last concept that I am going to introduce that's going to make the most sense when I get to the bipolar disorder type 1 is recovery time. We're going to talk about what, instead of depression always being seen as depression, particularly in bipolar 1, we're going to talk about recovery time. So let's get started. So in major depression, the way the circadian rhythm is affected is the drive for interest, the drive for energy, the drive for sex are all significantly affected downward. They go downward. There's a loss of those drives. When it comes to sleep, the biological clock gets a little confused, our circadian rhythm. It either has an increased need for sleep and you can't stop sleeping, or there's a decreased need for sleep and you can't sleep, and that just makes you feel even worse. The same goes for appetite. Depression can either cause an increase in appetite or a decrease in appetite, but no matter what, all of these circadian rhythms are affected in some way. One of the other things that is affected during depression, major depressive disorder, or major depression, is there's an increase in negative emotions, meaning sadness, guilt, shame. All of our emotional wounds are brought to the surface during this form of depression. So that covers major depression, and major depression can last 2 weeks or longer. Now we're going to get into the bipolar disorders, and we're going to start by talking about bipolar disorder type 2, and it is most closely related to major depression. The depression part is actually very similar, and people with bipolar disorder type 2 tend to spend more time in the depression end of this spectrum. However, what people with bipolar 2 have that major depression doesn't have, is they I'm saying they because I'm bipolar 1, so I apologize. But people with bipolar 2 experience hypomania. And what that is it's considered a mild form of mania where people are still able to function in their lives, whether it be at work, in their relationships, you name it, you're still able to function. Now, the hypomania can go two ways with bipolar 2. It can go one way is the way of agitation and rage, where somebody just feels this buildup of energy inside and it just feels like they're going to explode, and they do explode. And then the other direction is elation, an abundance of energy and goal-driven and just interest, very interested in life and toward movement towards goals. There is, for anybody experiencing hypomania, there is a loss of sleep or difficulty sleeping. There's also the sex drive increases. So we're getting back to the circadian rhythms, the drives change. All of them. Same with appetite, sleep, energy. All of the drives change, and they can go either eating more, eating less. That we don't fully understand. But what we do understand is that the drives caused by our circadian rhythm are definitely changing. During hypomania, a person has lost some control, but they still have more control over their behaviors than we'll see in bipolar disorder type 1 full-blown mania. So we'll get there. But I'm hoping you can see that the difference between major depression and bipolar 2. Now, I brought up the idea of recovery time. Now, this is just my own personal belief, but I believe that the hypomania that a person experiences is the recovery of having been in depression for so long. It's all of a sudden there's an abundance of serotonin and whatever's going on in the brain. I'm not going to go there right now. There's this abundance that's causing hypomania to occur. So that's that. The next form of bipolar disorder that we're going to talk about is a very mild form of bipolar disorder. It's called cyclothymia. What cyclothymia is a person for a period of about 2 years, so it's usually 2 years at least, where they have a little hypomania and a little depression, and they just kind of cycle through it like in waves. Some people every two weeks, just up and down, cycling through really mild hypomania and mild cyclothymia. Oftentimes this doesn't go diagnosed because it's not enough of a problem in a person's quality of life for a professional, for them to go seek out professional help. And now we'll go to bipolar disorder type 1. And what that is that's considered the dangerous type. And I'm living with bipolar disorder type 1. The depression of bipolar disorder type 1 is very different than major depressive disorder. And the reason for that, which is the mania. We just talked about hypomania. And people with bipolar type 1 do experience hypomania for a prolonged period of time. However, it escalates into what's called full-blown mania. And full-blown mania is everything hypomania is, but intensified to, good Lord, I don't know how much. But the key to understand is all of the drives, all of our natural human drives, are completely out of control. We don't have the need for sleep. Our sex drive is out of control. our creativity is out of control, like our focus on a goal is out of control. Everything, we just can't stop doing. And that is, our elation becomes omnipotence. And, you know, just everything goes to a whole higher level. And we don't feel out of control during that until maybe the peak when, like I said before, with hypomania having agitation and rage, in the peak of full-blown mania, every emotion explodes out. Every, both positive and negative, just explodes out of a person. It's very, very common. So what happens after that explosion is what I call the recovery. And during this depression, we're not able to think, we're not able to feel, we're not able to function as human beings. You don't feel alive during this recovery time. And the reason why is when we were going through that full-blown mania, we were using 70+% of our brain power, when as an average human being we only use 7 to 10%. So we were frying our brains during this full-blown mania. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on. I'm hoping this is making sense. So now we're going to get into some subtypes of bipolar disorder. And the first subtype is called rapid cycling. And a lot of people get this really confused with emotional roller coasters, but they're totally different things. Rapid cycling is where you have 4 or more episodes in the period of a year. That's it. Simple as that. 4 or more episodes in the period of a year, and it's considered rapid cycling. Now, here's where we're going to get into 2 different types of episodes. The first type is called a mixed episode. It is known as one of the most dangerous types of episode. The second type is just as dangerous. And the mixed episode is when, during the period of an episode, a person experiences both symptoms of mania and depression. So why is it so dangerous? It's because, well, remember how when I talked about bipolar 1, talked about being completely out of control? When a person is fluctuating up and down like that, they feel so completely out of control that suicide is a high risk, very high risk. And same with this next type of episode. This next type of episode is called ultradian episodes. And what those are is when a person cycles between mania and depression within a matter of minutes. So they're fluctuating with these symptoms. Their circadian rhythm is so out of whack that it's just fluctuating like that, back and forth between the types of symptoms within minutes. And it is highly dangerous for the same reasons that mixed episodes are dangerous. So these are the types of episodes. These are all classified in the DSM under bipolar 1, which is considered to be more dangerous because of the loss of control that a person experiences with bipolar 1 disorder. The next disorder isn't considered, it's a mood disorder. It's called schizoaffective disorder. And what it means is it's got the mood disorder component, either the depression or the bipolar disorder, and it's got psychosis as well. But the key thing is the psychosis takes place outside of the depression or the mania. So if you experience psychosis during an episode of mania and depression, that's just a normal mood disorder. However, if you experience it outside of the depression or mania, that's considered schizoaffective disorder. I'm hoping this makes sense, and I'm hoping it's helpful for everyone who's been wanting to know the differences of this whole spectrum of mood disorders. Again, I want to really focus you on that all the changes happening in our circadian rhythm, our natural clock, our balance, our rhythm in who we are as human beings. And all it is a difference in our brains. Our brains are different from other people's, and there's nothing wrong with our brains. We're just different. So I look forward to talking with you soon, and I hope this is useful. Bye.